Welcome to Backyard Beer Garden. I'm with my
Cheers.
co-host, Rob McCorkle. Thanks for having me. Thanks for hosting.
Coming to Kerrville.
We're in the Shroom, which is, if you might wonder what a shroom is. Well, it's is it an octagon shape or
It's a hectagon.
hectagonal shape out under the shade on a creek bed here in Kerrville on the edge of Ingram, right in between. But welcome to Backyard Beer Garden. This is a perfect spot for it. Thanks for hosting.
You bet. I'm glad you could come out.
We're drinking a Lobo Lager, which is brewed by Pertinalis Brewing Company and up in Fort Worth.
Fredericksburg.
Oh, I said Fort Worth, Fredericksburg. Exactly.
Fredericksburg.
Exactly. That's where the Pertinalis is. And
Local brew.
tastes good today. Getting kind of hot out, but that's to be expected. This is Texas. You've been living here a lot of your life. Louisiana for part of the time, and
Yep.
but Rob writes for a bunch of magazines, but one of his first books was it's right. What was this? One of your first ones?
My first and only book.
Well, Running Through Texas, right here. I'm a fan of running. I'm a fan of Texas, and it occurs to me I'm a fan of travel. So the word "through" actually covers three of my loves right here in this title. He's sharing this with me, and he's also sharing a couple of back issues. After he wrote the book, he went on to publish a magazine called Running Through Texas Magazine. Here's the winter 1982-83 issue, which I'm going to get that close because this is one of my heroes up front, Jerry Jeff Walker, running. And Jerry Jeff's music, I don't think I'd be doing this. I really don't think I'd be doing this.
I believe it.
So thank you, Jerry Jeff, and thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
Here's some other back issues of Running Through Texas, but I love it. I love it. So when did you first start running?
It was when I lived in Arlington, worked in Dallas back in the late 70s, and I was working for United Press International, and I started running, jogging a little bit then, and just never really stopped until I wore out my body enough to where I had to finally quit running. But for years I ran, not only published the magazine and covered races for the magazine, but did try to actually run in a lot of the races. Most of them would be the 10Ks. That was the most popular, and I guess it kind of still is.
They're pretty accessible to a wide range.
Yeah. Half a marathon or two, and then finally worked up to running a marathon, the Houston Tenneco Marathon in 1986.
All right.
I'm a Houston native, so that appealed to me. And
seeing your city from a little bit different point of view. I ran the Houston Marathon too, and
did you?
I lived in Houston for 2 years too. It's cool to see how the neighborhoods connect on foot, in cars. That's how you do Houston. But.
So anyway, it was great. I mean, it was a good excuse, as you say, to travel, and it worked out pretty well for the years I did it.
Well, you and I mentioned that beers go pretty good after running. It's like a great reward when you're on those last kind of miles.
Now, did you really drink some vodka during the?
No.
Well, I wondered why.
That was comedy. But I was really offered some vodka during my buddy Gordy Quist. I was running Austin Marathon, and Gordy brought out a banana. I ran by his house. He brought me a banana and a mimosa. So there was either champagne or vodka in there. But either way, Gordy, I politely ran further on and gave it I poured it out onto a yard that needed it. It looked like it was a dry yard, but no, you're right.
That's
not during, but after.
Yeah. Well, there was an interesting race. They still have it. It's called the Fiddler's Frolic and Foot Race in Hallettsville, and this was a number of years ago when I had the magazine back in the 80s. And my uncle drove up from Houston, and we went to this race.
Okay.
And it was a 10K, and it was an out and back, and going out it was downhill.
Okay.
And the way back, it was all uphill.
Oh, yeah.
Well, at the turnaround, as part of a kind of a separate contest within the race, was the person who could drink the most beer and finish the quickest and not lose it
Right.
would win another special little
Another
trophy.
award.
And this guy from Austin, he did it, man. And he drank like 8 beers and ran
Oh, my
back.
gosh.
I just couldn't imagine.
It's like
it.
adding challenge on top of challenge.
Craziness.
And what about writing? When did you? I know you probably started writing as a young
Journalism major at LSU.
Yeah.
And first worked for newspapers. That was the main kind of thing starting out as a reporter.
Uh-huh.
And then I mentioned UPI. I was there as a Texas broadcast editor for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to get back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
The old song, the Willie Whalen, Back to the Basics
Oh, yeah,
of
yeah.
Love,
Oh,
Looking
yeah.
About Texas,
Absolutely.
right? So I kind of had a lifestyle change and remarried and got out of the big city and moved to Marble Falls.
All right.
I worked for the Highlander newspaper.
Okay.
And so that was my first real introduction to the Texas Hill Country, and I loved it.
Uh-huh.
And so I had always wanted to get back here to live. And it took me a while. I lived in Austin and around Austin for a number of years. Lived in El Paso twice for a short time. And finally moved out here about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I love it.
And a lot of your stuff appears now in Texas Highways.
Well, I freelanced stories for them for many, many years, probably close to 30 now.
And the
But I
Parks and
work for
Wildlife.
Texas Parks and Wildlife as a news and information specialist, and I'm also a contributing writer to Parks and Wildlife magazine.
Right. That's where I first read your stuff. I want to ask you about Uvalde in a little bit.
Yeah.
As a writer, you probably know that what's the best advice to someone who wants to be a writer? It's like, as a songwriter, the best advice I have is the same probably is, well, just start writing. Try to find somewhere that'll use it and just keep on. It's kind of like running in a certain way. Just one step, try to keep it going. So
That's it.
this is one that I wrote with Jason Eady
Mm-hmm.
and Jamie Wilson. Jamie lives down in D'Hanis.
Uh-huh.
So,
Right.
Little small town.
Yeah,
And Jason
near
lives
Honda,
up
yeah.
exactly. And Jason lives up in Granbury. This is one we wrote together, kind of thinking about anything that's worth doing. It's called No Shortcuts. No
Hit it.
shortcuts.
One,
Here goes.
2.
You can use duct tape or baling wire or a 2x4 and a nail. Either way, it's gonna buy you time, but that duct tape is gonna fail. There's no shortcuts in the long run. There's no easy way to get the job done. There's no quick fix in the end, son. There's no shortcuts on the long run. The turtle beat the rabbit 'cause the rabbit didn't try. You kicked the golf ball into the fairway. We saw you do it. Don't look surprised. There's no shortcuts on the long run. There's no easy way to get the job done. There's no quick fix in the end, son. There's no shortcuts on the long run. You can't drive a race car across the infield. Gotta go all the way around. Treat 'em good on the way up. You're gonna meet 'em coming down. There's no shortcuts on the long run. There's no easy way to get the job done. There's no quick fix in the end, son. There's no shortcut on the long run. You gotta sit down with pen and paper. That problem won't solve itself. And when you're looking in the mirror, you can't blame nobody else. There's no shortcuts on the long run. There's no easy way to get the job done. There's no quick fix in the end, son. There's no shortcuts on the long run. There's no shortcut. There's no easy way. There's no quick fix. There's no shortcuts on the long run.
Rosie Ruiz. She'll tell you.
Yeah.
Rosie Ruiz that took the shortcut at
That's right.
New York. It was a New York Marathon.
The New York Marathon.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't take a
Can't
shortcut
take
on the New York Marathon.
You can't like that. That's
Yeah,
great.
thanks.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, Rob McCorkle, for hosting a backyard beer garden. We're gonna talk a little bit more, and I hope you'll play a song. Would you? Maybe we'll take a break, and if you feel like playing a song, I'd love to hear it.
I may play something.
Well, cool.
All right.
Well, thanks for hosting.
Excellent.